Hello, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in to the inaugural Engineer Power Talk sessions powered by Engineer 2021. I know it's a busy week and it's a busy hour right here. Firstly, I want to congratulate you here for being in this webinar because we believe that there is no better time than right now to understand what is the outlook for 2021 so that you can start preparing your business and so that you can start your year strong for this year. I'm Jason Lim here, and I'll be the MC for these Power Talk sessions. By the end of these sessions, you will discover what are the outlook as well as the business opportunity for the year 2021. And if you have any questions related to today's discussions, feel free to let us know in the comment, where you can just post it up in the comment and we will answer to them at the end of these sessions. Our topic for today is Engineering and Infrastructure Outlook 2021. And we are very honored to have three special guests who are with us here today as today's panelists. Firstly, we have Council Member of Master Builders Association Malaysia, short for MBAM, Mr. Ong Kah Tiam. We also have President of the Institutions of Engineers Malaysia, short for IEM, Engineer Ong Chin Lun. And our special guest, Chief Executive of the Malaysian Construction Industry Development Board, short for CIDB, Yang Berbahagia Datuk Engineer Ahmad Azri Abdul Hamid. In addition, this session is also moderated by Technologist Engineer Yam Tion Sien, Council Member of IEM. Let me share a quick background of our panelists to introduce to you. Firstly, Mr. Ong Kah Tiam is currently the Council Member of Master Builders Association Malaysia. Mr. Ong has over 30 years of working experience in construction field since 1986. During his tenure in WCT Holding Group, Mr. Ong has led the team in tendering the notable project, for example, the F1 Abu Dhabi and Ministry of Interior Headquarters Qatar project. He holds a Bachelor of Civil Engineering from University of Technology Malaysia and Bachelor of Construction Management from Curtin University, as well as Master of Business Administration from Victoria University. Secondly, we are also glad to have Engineer Ong Chin Lun. Engineer Ong is a fellow member of the Institutions of Engineers IEM. Engineer Ong is also the current president of IEM. He is a board member of the Board of Engineers Malaysia, BEM, the Vice President of Malaysia Association of Energy Service Companies, MASCO, a past President of ASTRAE Malaysia Chapter, the past Regional Vice Chair of Chapter Technology Transfer Community and Research Promotion Community of ASTRAE. Engineer is also the former Secretary General of AFIO. And of course, we're also very glad to have Yang Berbahagia Datuk Engineer Ahmad Azri. Yang Berbahagia Datuk Engineer Ahmad Azri is the current CEO of CIDB, effective 1st March 2016. Datuk Ahmad Azri previously held the position of Senior General Manager of the CIDB Management Sector, serving 15 years, leading the International Division, Corporate Divisions, and Development Sector. He has also been involved in the construction industry for over 31 years, including as a mechanical engineer at the Public Work Department for 13 years. Datuk Ahmad Azri also held the position of President of the Professional Service Development Corporation, PSDC, for 3 years. Lastly, not forgetting, this session is moderated by Technologist Engineer Yam. Technologist Engineer Yam is a registered professional engineer and professional technologist with the Board of Engineers Malaysia and Malaysia Board of Technologists, respectively. Qualified as a civil engineer, he has been active in the engineering construction field for more than 30 years, having designed and built large civil engineering and building projects. He is also active in professional societies, having served in many technical committees in IEM and was also the Honorary Secretary. He is an EXCO member and council member of the IEM and currently the President of the Technological Association Malaysia, short for TAM. All right, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let us put our hands together to welcome Engineer Yam.
Oh, thank you, Jason, for those very kind words and very comprehensive introduction. So, ladies and
Yeah,
gentlemen,
over to you.
thank you, Jason. Thank you, Jason. Well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Engineer Power Talk 2021. And I'm your moderator today, and my name is Yam Tiong Sian. Now, today's Power Talk will be a first of a series of such talks which will focus on issues related to engineering and the construction sector. 2020 has been a challenging year for the economy, especially the construction sector. The unprecedented pandemic that had gripped the world had presented new challenges to the world, and Malaysia has not been spared. Since March 18 last year, the economy had experienced a new paradigm and a tailspin which many Malaysians have never experienced before. Now, our talk today, Engineering and Infrastructure Outlook for 2021, shall attempt to discuss what had happened to this segment of the industry, what were the current issues that ensued, and the responses that the sector had to take. What is the way forward, and what are the many challenges that it has to face. Now, this may indeed not be the only questions, as the stakeholders of the industries are very anxious to see some light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak. Today's panel, we have gathered leaders of organizations that are in the forefront of the industry. And they are here to discuss and maybe to elucidate and attempt to throw some light on how are we going to move forward. We have the Construction Industry Development Board, we have the Master Builders Association of Malaysia, and we also have the Institution of Engineers here online today. Each of them will give their respective views and thoughts in regards to Engineering and Infrastructure Outlook 2021. And what are their views from their end of the table? As you know, CIDB is a federal statutory body under the Ministry of Works. And CIDB was set up under the CIDB Act to develop and regulate, enforce, and execute tasks and functions related to the industry. So the presence of CIDB today is indeed very important to present their views on the policy making side, the public sector side of the government. The Master Builders Association, which is an association representing all the major construction players in the private sector, and is also entrusted with the role of development and advancement of the industry. And it will serve as a voice in addressing major issues such as this from the private sector. And of course, the Institution of Engineers Malaysia is a learned professional society. And today we have their president here who will throw some light on what are the problems that are faced by the engineering community during this COVID period. Now, without further ado, I think it gives me great pleasure to invite Dato' Engineer Ahmad Azri, the CEO of CIDB, to share with us his thoughts on this topic, Engineering and Infrastructure Outlook 2021. Dato', the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Engineer Yam. Thank you very much. First and foremost, I would like to thank the IEM for the kind invitation for me to be here, to be part of the panelists to talk in this Engineer Power Talk series. And basically, the focus of my talk today will be on the pandemic COVID-19 and the construction industry, as well as highlighting the outlook of the construction industry in 2021. But I would like to begin my presentation by talking about the impact of pandemic COVID-19 to the construction industry in 2020, what we have learned from the experience in 2020, as well as the involvement of CIDB at the various stages of the pandemic, the effect of the pandemic. as rightly mentioned by Engineer Yam, actually basically the government imposed the first MCO on 18th of March 2020, and for that and it was for a period of 1 month. At that time, it was 2 weeks plus 2 weeks. And the thing about it is that CIDB is very much involved from the very beginning when the government wanted to close basically the economy and to impose the MCO. CIDB has been part of the team, or has been consulted. And the involvement of CIDB is actually two-pronged as far as during the time of the pandemic. The first one is we implement what the government have decided. And the second one is basically we assist to address the issues faced by the industries. So on the first one, for example, when the government closed the economy for a 1 month period from 18th of March to about 15th of April 2020, CIDB has been entrusted to enforce, to visit the construction site to ensure that all construction projects come to a stop. And at that time, the one good thing about the period is the fact that the construction industry has been identified as one of the 5 essential economic sector for the country. And because of that, we were given quite a number of platforms to voice our concern, to voice the issues of the construction industries. And we had actually engaged with the industry. We had performed surveys, we had meetings, and a number of engagement sessions with industry. And over time, we collected issues, and we were given at least 4 times that I had the chance to present to the Economic Action Council, EAC, chaired by the Prime Minister himself. And then the government has been very receptive to the proposal of CIDB. So besides that, what happened was that during the first month of the imposition of the MCO, the effect, 7,500 projects came to a complete stop for the construction industry. And the impact actually to the economy is a loss of 11.6 billion for the whole 1 month period. So it was a very, so you actually adversely affect many parties, because as we know, construction industry have got linkages with a lot of other economic sectors. And by stopping the construction industry, it also stopped the activities of a lot of other people, consultants, subcontractors, the contractors, the consultant, as well as the clients and the material suppliers, as well as the machine and equipment suppliers and all that. So all these actually are part of the 11.6 billion losses. And during the first Economic Action Council meeting that I was invited, we had presented to the council to say that we cannot afford to go on longer than that. And on 15th of April, the government decided to open to 13 categories of projects, to allow 13 categories of projects. And because of that, the losses were cut down to about 6.6 billion, still high. And on the 1st of May 2020, the government decided to fully open the construction industry, and CIDB was entrusted to come up with the SOP, as well as to do enforcement to make sure that the construction companies complied with the SOP. So I'm glad that we had a very good government in the sense that it's a government that listened, and a government that actually very proactive and committed. So whenever we present issues, the government have taken action to rectify and to assist us. So among the things that over time that we have managed to put in place is actually besides the opening up of the 13 sectors, is basically the introduction of the temporary measures for recovery, for reducing the impact of coronavirus disease 2019. That's one of the things that is the outcome of our proposal in the Economic Action Council. And also the fact that now the acceptance of RPK antigen testing, as well as the subsidy from Perkeso for the test. So those are the things that the government have actually listened and actually take actions to assist the construction industry. And what we have seen that in 2020, from our data, we see that until October, the construction volume in terms of value has dropped by 37% from the month of January to the month of October. So it's a very big drop compared to 2019. So this is actually the direct impact of COVID-19. And in terms of the operation of the companies, we have realized that over time, now basically we have inspected about 8,000 projects, and out of which actually only 80, the last figure on the 4th of January, only 80 projects are still not operating, whereas about 7,949 other projects are already in operation. So meaning to say that the construction industry have come back to normal as far as the number of projects that is implemented is concerned. However, we have discovered through our surveys and through our inspections that basically the degree of operation or the capacity of operation is not 100% or it's not back to where it was before. And the reason being is one of the things that actually stopped from 100% operation of companies, actually the fact that we face the problem of shortage of workers, in particular the foreign workers. Because when the government stopped the intake of foreign workers, and because a lot of quite a number of workers has gone back and all that, and because of that, there was a big drop in terms of number of workers available. Other than that, there are also companies that face cash flow problems, for example, because now one of the things that happen in the industry is the fact that clients are not paying contractors are not paying subcontractors, and clients are not paying consultants. It's a non-payment issue has come up significantly during this time because everybody is tight in their cash flow. And the third one is actually because of the fact that having to comply with SOP does increase the cost of doing construction. And the last one of the other factor that actually stopped them from 100% from operating full capacity is the fact that there are also shortage of the supply of materials. So these are the challenges that was faced by the end of 2020 due to pandemic COVID-19. So coming to 2021, looking at what is the outlook of 2021, and the question that everybody is asking. To me, there are two important factors that will influence the success of the economy, the recovery, the economic as well as the construction industry recovery. The two factors are, number one is a successful containment of the COVID-19 pandemic, and the second one is a sustained recovery in demand. So we see that the first one, there are now challenges because the government have already announced that there will be a second round of MCO now, and it will begin tomorrow, and that will definitely affect the outlook of the construction industry. So coming to basing on the Malaysian government's forecast, the forecast is that national economy will grow by 6.5 to 7.5% in 2021, while the construction industry is expected to increase from minus 18.7% in 2020 to positive 13.9% in 2021. So the government actually predicted that the construction industry will basically grow very fast in 2021. And looking at the demand, how we want to maintain the demand, basically it looks like the government is taking seriously the fact that construction industry is an important economic sector because of the fact that I said the construction industry have got this multiplier effect of 2.03. So because of the fact that the linkages it has with other industries. And for this year, for 2021, for this year, the government have allocated a budget of 69 billion in development expenditure compared to last year, 55 billion. So it's an increase in development expenditure. And if you see the overall allocation of this 69 billion, some of the major one are actually the 15 billion to funds infrastructure project, which include the Pan Borneo Highway, Gemas JB electrified double tracking, and then the Klang Valley double tracking phase 1, Johor Singapore RTS, as well as the Klang Valley MRT3. So these are actually total to 15 billion. And over and above that, there's also government allocation of 3.8 billion for a number of projects in Selangor, Kelantan, Pahang, Terengganu, and then Kedah, and as well as Sabah. And going to ministries level, the Ministry of Rural Development, for example, get about 2.7 billion in terms of for their projects in rural areas. And for Ministry of Education, have been allocated 1.75 billion for school maintenance as well as school construction. And the Housing Ministry have been allocated about 2.25 billion. And in addition to that, Sabah and Sarawak received about 9.6 billion in total, which is 5.1 billion for Sabah as well as 4.5 billion for Sarawak. And the 5 economic development corridor received an allocation of 780 million. So you can see from there that there's some positive initiative by the government to get the construction industry moving, at least from the part of the public sector. But the thing about the construction industry is the fact that 75% to 80% of the projects in terms of value being implemented every year is from the private sector. So coming back to the sustained demand that we require to make sure that there's growth in the construction industry, we have to get the confidence, we have to get the investment, the private sector, to get it moving. And I think the government is paving the way and showing the way, and hopefully the private sector will follow suit and hence hence put in investment or increase the investment in which involve the construction industry. There are challenges that we face as far as this pandemic is concerned, or the thing that come up from this pandemic experience is the fact that is actually what happened is this COVID-19 pandemic has bring up or amplify issues that we have been trying to solve all these years. One of the things is that the fact that the construction industry, the characteristic, the low adoption of technology. And one of the challenges because of this is the fact that we rely a lot on foreign workers because of the availability of this cheap foreign labor. And this foreign labor basically, because of this cheap foreign labor, there's a reluctance among the company to move to technology. And hence, our nature of construction is actually very labor intensive. We have a lot of wet trades involved, and these are actually attractive to the foreign workers. The second thing that come up with this pandemic 19 is the fact that we rely a lot on foreign resources. This include not only workers, but also we're talking about consultants. There are a lot of big projects that engage or that use foreign consultants, and also we rely a lot on imported materials. When there's problem with importation, there's problem with our construction. The third one is now we are faced with the increase in cost of construction materials, because now since the construction industry is starting to grow, a lot of people are now expediting their projects. There are a lot of demand for the materials, and yet some of the factories are not in full operation yet because of this COVID-19 pandemic, and also there are also delays in importation of materials from overseas, and that actually hamper growth of the construction industry. The fourth one is the fact that a lot of companies face cash flow problems, and one of the reason for that is the late or delayed payment by the clients and by the contractors and all that, which I have mentioned earlier. And the second reason is the fact that a lot of contractors are facing difficulty in raising financing from the banks, because what bank does is that they basically categorize the construction industry as a high risk sector, and because of this, the fact that it's high risk, they are very reluctant to extend basically the facilities to the companies. And also the last one of the last challenges is the fact that even though this COVID-19 temporary bill has been launched by the government, it is claimed by the industry or alleged by industry that it's not comprehensive enough, and there are a lot of uncertainties as far as claims and all that is concerned. So how do we move forward? What actions we need to take to face the challenges, these challenges that I have highlighted, to face the challenges so that we are ready to grow as expected in 2021. One of that is we must change the way we do construction work. We must use more technologies, and this basically cover the whole value chain of the construction industry. Not only that we are supposed to use industrialized building system, IBS, everybody should be using the building information modeling, BIM, and over and above that, there are a lot of other technologies available during the design, during the supervision of project and project implementation, and also during the maintenance of our work. The second one is we need to emphasize more on the needs to use local resources. When I say local resources, I mean local workers, local supervisors, local professionals, local consultants, local materials, and wherever possible, local equipment as well. So we must use our local resources to make sure that our economy benefit the local people. And the third one is we must really embark on capacity development. So capacity development should be actually shared by everybody, not only by CIDB, not only by the government, even by companies, by going through apprenticeship, by taking up apprenticeship program, as well as being involved in coaching program for the workers, so that we have can build up enough numbers of competent workers. And the last one is what the government has to do is basically implement more projects to make sure that the construction industry grow, to make sure that everybody can sustain, and also expedite whatever projects that has been announced, whatever project that has been planned. And this, I think, the government is looking seriously now. So that come to the end of my presentation today. So thank you very much, and I pass back the floor to Engineer Yam. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. for that very comprehensive overview of the outlook from the CIDB side. I think there will be many interesting questions that will be raised from what you have delivered. And just to remind the audience that they can post any questions that they think that they want to raise on the chat box on your screen, and then we will try and address as many of your questions as possible. Now, the next speaker is Mr. KT Ong from the Master Builder Association. You have heard that from Datuk that the construction industry is a segment comprised both public and private, and the private sector actually plays a significant part in the entire construction economy. So maybe you can, Mr. Ong can throw some light on this subject of the outlook for 2021 from the private sector side. Mr. Ong, the floor is yours. Mr. Ong.
Yeah, thank you, Engineer Yam. And also, first and foremost, I would like to thank IEM and giving the opportunity for us to involve in this engineer power talks, and also share the same platform with the with CIDB CEO Dato' Azri, and also later together with the IEM president. Of course, we are facing a huge challenge for the past years of 2020, which is actually, as we know that we have unexpected that pandemic actually facing by us, and everyone actually unprepared for it. And for the Master Builder, actually, we are founded actually in 1954, and with some contractors. So actually, we have involving this growing from the small to the current, size of 16,000 direct and indirect members, which is comprises of the corporations, affiliate, and also the industry companies in the construction industry. Actually, Master Builder providing a platform for the industry players, and also the interaction with the government body and also the agency, and also try to find something actually to solve the problem or the industry that related to these our members and also the government interest. Of course, we also these members of this International Federation of Asian and Pacific, Western Pacific Contractor Association. Apart from that, we also the Asian Contractor Federation's member, and we also have communication with this international contractor as well. So in order to share and also the work together on the same interest of the construction industry. Our mission actually is a prime mover and the recognized voice of the Malaysian construction industry, which is actually we try to move ahead and to achieve that. Okay, of course, if you see that actually now we would have the very challenging times, especially we are facing the pandemic now. See, to review the years of this 2020 performance, of course, in the COVID-19 pandemics, which is unprepared, as well, especially the construction industry and the related industry that have the relationship with the construction industry, which is they may have the supplier or vendors to the construction projects. So they are facing hard time during the MCO, CMCO, even those some actually fall in under this EMCO control, and we would have to actually facing quite a tough, and also there's most of our members actually losing their money in the year of 2020. Okay, for the prospect of this 2021, that actually what we have facing that now not only that COVID-19 pandemic, as we also that understand that also DR's political pandemic, as someone actually been mentioned that due to certain issue that politically related. So we will see that the prospect of this recovery on this construction industry, or maybe the economy, would not be positive enough actually for us to see at this moment as now. So what we are moving forward, so as we know that actually World Bank forecast GDP growth of Malaysia would be at 6.7% in 2021. Yeah, it's a good forecast, and also we hope that this thing would happen, you see, in the coming months for the next to go. So, of course, as mentioned by Dato' Azri, that actually there are also growth from the negative of 18.7% last year, 2020, in the construction industry to 13.9%. Is a very good prospect. Actually, we can look ahead. So we hopefully this thing can be achieved. But for the members of construction industry, some do feel that actually there is a bit optimistic that at this moment of time, as we also would facing another lockdown under the MCO and also CMCO, from tomorrow onwards. As highlighted by Dato' Azri, I think budget 2021 do provide a lot of these development expenses, which is would stimulate the economy. We hope that actually this thing is a positive actually contribution to the construction industry, and I will see that actually we do hope that this actually can be implemented smoothly actually on the coming months. As a private construction company, which is actually contribute quite a lot actually in the economic growth in our country. So definitely actually we will provide our support and also full force in terms of supporting the government move in the development of construction sector and also relevant industry for the years to come. But as we know that there are difficulties and challenges facing by the construction industry in 2021, as mentioned by Dato' Azri. There are shortage of the steel workers, which is actually during the first pandemic, this MCO, they have been terminated and also returned to the country. They are not able to return back to here because of the border closed. Another thing is, of course, as we currently actually facing is a political climate, which is actually affecting the many actually issue actually in our country, especially on the implementation of our plan as per the budget 2021. Another thing is actually there would be some issue about project delay and also this problem facing by the contractor. They may have losing money, and they may have facing the cash flow problem because of the work delay and also unproductive for the past few months. Of course, we are also happy to hear that there's many initiatives actually been provided by the government from the so-called SOCSO on the test of COVID, and also subsidized and all sort of things actually provided for the past few months. these are the things that we have the challenge for the coming months that we need to deal with it separately, and we hope that actually we can work together with the government agency, especially we have a good relationship with CIDB, then we overcome all sort of things actually facing by the construction industry. So that's all for now. Actually, I thank you. I would like to pass the floor back to Engineer Yam.
Thank you, Mr. Ong. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that overview of the response of the private sector in tackling this COVID issue within the construction industry. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, just another reminder, if you have any questions, please post onto the online, and then we'll try and tackle some of these questions as we go along. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, our third speaker is from the Institution of Engineers. As you are aware that the Institution of Engineers is the professional learned society representing engineering fraternity in this country. And today we have with us the president of the Institution of Engineers, Engineer Ong Jin Loong. He's the current presiding president. And I would like to invite Engineer Ong to maybe give his views on the outlook more from the fraternity of the engineering community. Engineer Ong, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Engineer Yam. First of all, I would like to thank Dato' Asri, the CEO of CIDB, and also Mr. Ong Katiam, the council member of Master Builder, for taking such a precious time to join us for this engineer power talk. And we are indebted from the sharing that they have shared with us that will be very useful for IEM and for the engineers and also the engineering fraternity to chart their action plan for this year 2021. Now, first of all, I want to share with you the mission of IEM. The mission of IEM, among others, the first one is IEM shall contribute towards nation building and shall strive to enhance society consciousness of science, engineering, and technology. I think one of the key missions is talking about nation building. That's precisely the members of IEM who are the engineers and also the engineering fraternity members are doing that. The other mission is to promote sound professional engineering practice in support of the socio-economic development of the nation. And precisely this is what IEM has been doing for the last 62 years. For the information, IEM is 62 years right now in the nation of grooming, nurturing the engineers to be the nation builder of the country. Now, like what Dr. Asri and also Mr. Ong mentioned just now, the pandemic has resulted in the mission of IEM not be able to achieve. For example, we are saying that 11.6 billion losses financially from the construction sector, the moment construction sector is being stopped. And that is a grave concern to IEM and also obviously our members. In fact, this nation building project was being hampered by the pandemic is correlated by the survey that IEM did. IEM conducted 4 surveys. In fact, the last survey was the 4th survey that was conducted in the month of December last year. And it says that 26% of our members who are engineers have been retrenched. And 49% of the members are forced to take unpaid leave. And that is as recent as in December last year. And among the members who are employers in the manufacturing, in the contracting businesses, in the consulting businesses and others, and they were saying that about 19% of the staff were being retrenched by them, and 36% of the staff are placed on a part-time basis, and 25% of the staff were asked to take no pay leave. Now, that correlates very well that the construction industry, the engineering industry was badly affected by this pandemic. And yeah, we just heard that the two distinguished speakers talking about the challenges facing us to ensure the cash flow is being retained, the job comes back, and development will be continued in this year 2021. Now we look into the opportunities. IEM is thankful to the government, as mentioned by Dr. Asri and also Mr. Ong, that the government has introduced 322 billion budget in this year, which is unprecedented. And out of that, 69 billion is being budgeted for development expenditure. And that is something very welcoming, because out of this 69 billion, if you look into the project itself, they are not all for construction. It also includes, apart from the construction that forms the major portion of the budget, like what mentioned by Dr. Asri and also Mr. Ong, the civil project obviously encompasses the road, the bridge, the highway, and others. But in terms of electrical engineering, it also involved into the rural electricity supply, which is targeted for 1,100 houses, and the budget is 250 million. And also, of course, the government also talked about installing 27,000 of street lights, and that budget, the budget is 121 million, and that itself cater a lot for the electrical industry as well. Not to forget the maintenance of infrastructure in the industrial park alone is also 100 million ringgit. And for chemical engineers and also the civil engineers, there are projects related to water supply, which is about 45 billion, and also raw water transfer projects, which is also 150 million ringgit. So if you look to the various spectrum of engineering, from a civil, electrical, mechanical, and chemical, all are included. Not to forget, the government also set aside a budget for environmental sustainability, and I think this is excellent. It comes to a total of 2 billion ringgit, and out of which the Ministers of Energy recently launched a project called the SAFE 2.0, which give a rebate of 200 ringgit to household that buy energy efficient product that is made locally. That includes air conditioner and also refrigerator. Now, if we look into all this, a budget of 69 billion ringgit, we are optimistically happy that the members of IEM and also the engineering fraternity, to a large extent, will enjoy these recovery projects in order to ensure the economic activities of the country will be sustained and grow. Now, obviously, that is on the basis that the pandemic will be subsiding. But having said this, with the willpower of the government, we believe that out of the 69 billion ringgit, even though there are 70% is being implemented, it will create a hive of business activities for all the engineers to continue the mission of nation building. But so the opportunity that is arising out of the budget, I think is open up a lot of possibility for all the engineers in the country. And as far as IEM is concerned, we think, and we also encourage the engineers to increase their knowledge, upskilling themselves and reskill themselves in order to meet the changing environment. We also look into encouraging an employer to build capacity in readiness for the bigger volume of the job that will come about into the marketplace. Obviously, in terms of adopting technology, I think that is very important. I think our engineers have to look into a modular construction. We have to look into 3D printing, and most of all, sustainable innovation is very much required from among the engineers. Obviously, adoptions of robotics, adoptions of BIM and drone technologies are required, and we hope that the our country and also our engineers will look into growing capacity and at the same time use more local resources as highlighted by Dr. Asri. Now, in view of this, IEM also has a position paper coordinating committee. And among of the projects that the position paper committee is looking at, one of them is a revolutionize construction industry for practice in Malaysia. So they're looking to the way that we can bring into technologies, bring into a capacity building, use of local resources into the construction industry. At the same time, IEM also have a position paper committee looking into capacity building and standard development for national policy on Industry 4.0 in conjunction with the manufacturing sector. So I think as far as we are concerned, we also believe in upskilling, reskilling our members and engineers, especially during the pandemic, so that they can look into other opportunities that could be abundant based on the new normal. And IEM has conducted tremendous lot of webinar over the periods from April the 18th to end of last year, and the number of webinar that we conducted is 213 over less than 300 days. In fact, we were very proud of this achievement. In fact, close to 45% of a member of 52,000 right now has attended the webinar. So in a way, we have helped the industry to look into prepare themselves for bigger challenge, and also in upskilling their own knowledge and capacity, and also reskill themselves in face of these challenges. So I would like to end my presentation on this, and back over to you, Engineer Yap. Thank you.
Thank you, Engineer Ong, for that response to the impact of the COVID on the engineering fraternity. Interestingly, when you were the retrenchment of the engineers, I recall that somebody mentioned about what are the psychological impact to, let's say, a very senior engineer being retrenched during this pandemic period, which is totally not due to his incapability. It has got to do with a situation that nobody has ever encountered. So interestingly, I think some fact finding is being done by the institution, I believe, to assist these engineers. Okay, ladies and gentlemen,
just allow me to add on this point. In fact, we know that some engineers psychologically will be affected, not because on their own doing. And IEM is also planning to give talk about how do we improve our mental health in the light of a pandemic, so that we hope to give some relief to among the members that is being affected by this pandemic. Over to you. Thank you, Engineer Yap.
Thank you, Engineer Ong. Okay, there you are, ladies and gentlemen. You have heard, the institution of engineers throwing some light onto the effects of the COVID on the engineering fraternity. Okay, we have come to the end of the first part of the session. where you have heard the views of CIDB, you've heard the views of MBAM, and also the views of IEM. Can I, maybe perhaps now we can invite the other two speakers on screen, and we can actually get into this forum where we could actually maybe respond to some of the questions that are posted online, and also some of the questions that could be burning questions that are confronted with some of us. Okay, now I have several questions online. Maybe I should tackle some of these questions first, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, I have one question here from Mr. Vela Veta, and I think Datuk Azri, your strike lottery, like it is addressed to you. Okay.
Lucky me.
And the question to you is I think this question is very direct, Is CIDB aware that without foreign workers, the construction industry cannot move forward? So that I don't know whether there's a statement or a question. So perhaps maybe I think you will be the right person to try and respond to this, Datuk.
Yeah, you're rightfully, Engineer Yam. The question is directly to CIDB. Mr. Vela Beta, you should be happy to know that not only that CIDB, myself and CIDB, but also the Prime Minister is aware. When we presented to the Prime Minister an issue of shortage of foreign workers, he said exactly what I said. You need to say that the construction industry cannot move without foreign workers. Because you look at countries like even Singapore, our neighbor, if you want to use that as a basis, even Singapore have got their own share of foreign workers. So what the point is, foreign workers is needed in Malaysia as well as in other countries because of the fact that the nature of work, some of that are very labor intensive, and of course there are other factors as well to say that low pay and all that. Okay, but what we have to bear in mind is that while we need foreign workers, but we don't be over reliant on foreign workers. That's my point. What we have to do is like Singapore, all the foreign workers there actually legal. When legal means you can actually bring in the right number of foreign workers to fill the need of the industry, rather than everybody comes in and some of them come to the plantation sector and eventually ended up in construction industry. These are very unhealthy because you cannot manage the foreign workers that is in existence. And the other thing that we must remember is that some of the companies are using foreign workers in the wrong way. The wrong way means to say that, for example, you talk about operating machines. Operating machines, the license is given by DOSH, and DOSH will not give to any foreign workers because those are opportunities for local workers. And those kind of work is quite attractive to the local. But if you give to the foreign workers, definitely they are illegal because they definitely work without the license. So this is illegal, and actually you are depriving the opportunity for local workers. So what I'm saying is that yes, we need foreign workers, but we have to manage it. We have to bring the right number of foreign workers to ensure that the construction industry can move, and at the same time, we must not forget that local workers as well need works in some areas of the world. So that is something that we have. And this, like I mentioned earlier, the Prime Minister is fully aware of this, and that's what he said to me as well. So we are in tandem, so you better be happy with that. So I'm never against foreign workers, no. I think MBAM know that. I'm never against foreign workers, but what I'm saying is that foreign workers must be properly managed. Because at the end of the day, when you have social problem, the same people who engage foreign workers are the one who shout loudest to say that why do we bring in so many foreign workers? No, it's the same people. So sometimes we must bear this in mind to say that we need.
Are we back online? Are we back online?
Yep.
So thank you. That's my response.
Thank you, Datuk. I think it's good to know that the Prime Minister is also fully aware. Perhaps since we are on this subject, I think it's a very important subject and for the industry. Maybe from the private side, maybe Mr. Ong can cast some of his views on this. From the private sector side.
Right. Okay. It's very true that actually I agree to Datuk Azri. We need foreign workers especially because why? As we know that actually locals, you look at it, the percentage of involvement of the locals workers in the construction industry as nowadays is very small. And I do agree that actually the operator for the machine, which is actually should be allowed by the to be employed locals and train them to be skilled enough, okay, to operate the machine. So at least we can have the local involvement in terms of the construction industry, which is on the a little bit more on high tech or maybe on upper skill, rather than actually doing a general work. As you know that locals workers actually they have expecting a bit higher compared to the foreign workers. Yeah, I do agree that actually we need foreign workers for lots of work because general work actually you need to carry things, actually you need to do a hard work, you need to do cleaning, all these things actually you need general workers. You cannot ignore that actually without general workers how to do that. Okay, now of course on the other hand that you may say that actually we can use a technology which is you use equipment machinery to do that, but there's a limitation of machinery and equipment to a certain extent. So and anyhow, we still need foreign workers. Of course, the number we can make the proportion, you see, in the overall construction, this maybe be based on the percentage actually, where actually should we allow these more foreign workers to work and also that to have the local workers to evolve, right? So, as you say that actually, maybe we can, because of we need to overcome this actually with the technology, as we say just now. Actually, we share just now. So yeah, we can use the IBS system, but IBS system sometimes actually you need heavy investment in the upfront, and also this you need some skill, and you also take off actually we need times actually in stagger to change the mindset of the workers, and also not only that you have to change the mindset of the client and also the purchaser, especially for this housing. Okay? So these are the challenges actually we need to face. Actually, we need time to overcome that. So hopefully one day we don't need so much of foreign workers. We can limit down the numbers, and we don't need to face so much of problem. Hopefully that we can do it.
Okay, thank you. And there you are, ladies and gentlemen. You have heard these are some of the real challenges on the ground. I think you know there is a need for local foreign workers, of course, but the issue is what is the right balance? What is the right balance? Okay, what are the skills that are required, and what are the new skills? In fact, we have a question here from Pemantau, which is related to this as well. And the question is the industry aware that if the construction industry can provide proper career enhancement and better salary schemes, our local workers will be willing to work in the construction industry? Now, this is obviously the assumption that our local talent pool are not keen to work in the construction industry, and therefore we have so many foreign workers in the industry. Perhaps maybe one of the gentlemen can tackle this. What is your views on this? Maybe Datuk, again to you, please.
No problem. Okay.
Yeah.
Regarding this matter, the salary scheme, the issue here between foreign and local workers is the fact that we are not. It is not a level playing field, so to speak. The reason being, when you employ foreign workers, it will be a lot cheaper because of the fact that, for example, just one aspect of it is, for example, accommodation. When accommodation for foreign workers, you see how they live in the Kongsi. Before, of course, Act 446 is something that we are trying to change. But before that, you see how the accommodation that has been provided for the foreign workers is actually way below standard. There's no way our local workers can stay in that kind of place. That's number two. They are willing to work extra hours. You ask them to work, they are work because they are here to make as much money as possible and actually to send it back to their families. So basically, they are willing to work even during weekend, even at night. You talk about local workers. Local workers, the expectation is higher. They expect a proper accommodation. They expect a better salary scale and all that. So you are basically, because of this discrepancy, because of the large gap in terms of the cost of having foreign and local workers. So a lot of companies choose, naturally, obviously they would choose the foreign workers because it's cheaper. Now, what we have to do, one of the strategy by the government is basically to follow other developed countries as well. What you do is to raise the standard for foreign workers. For example, when it comes to accommodation, you must comply with Act 446. There's a basic need of people to stay, so for workers to stay, even if foreign or local. So by then, what you're doing is you're raising the standards of requirements for foreign workers to match, at least not to the level of the local workers. Actually, close the gap between local and foreign workers. So basically, by basically demanding quality in terms of foreign and local, hopefully the gap will be closer. That's number one. Number two, we see that from our experience, we see that a lot of works actually when the salary is high, or what we used to call high impact trades like welding, for example. Welding is a trade that our local is willing to work. Scaffolding is also in a lot of projects that they employ locals because of the local requirement, as well as the fact that they actually demand better pay. So the fact that there are certain trades where the local are willing to work. But of course, the other side of it, you talk about the general works and all that, is actually something that our local are not interested in, and we need foreign workers. And coming to the career path, we have actually now we have come up with a career framework to make sure that from workers, general workers, it can become skilled workers. Eventually, you can go through trainings and capacity development to become supervisors, and eventually even to construction managers. We have that career path now, which we have finalized, and we hope to implement in 2021. And we hope that the industry will recognize this framework, and that is something that CIDB will impose later on to make sure that there will be a path for people to grow, and hence it will be more effective to the local.
Thank you, Datuk. Thank you, Datuk. Maybe from the private sector part, master builders, you have something to respond to this. Whether some of your member companies are having problems, engaging local workers in place of foreign workers as well. What are the challenges from the private sector side, apart from there are some accusations of the industry providing inhuman accommodation for your foreign workers, I'm sure you have heard that before. So maybe Master Builder can throw some light onto this.
Of course, in terms of these locals, combination actually. Of course, the players, again, the local players in construction industry do willing that actually to comply with all those requirements actually that actually set by the government in terms of the improving the standard and the skill, okay, for the workers, the local workers that are able to take up certain job actually in order to replace the foreign workers. Yeah, of course, in this part actually, and Master Builder actually do jointly actually provide the training to upskill the workers, the local workers. Of course, and we need times to actually to achieve to certain level of and also the volume actually to accommodate the requirement. Of course, you go back to in terms of the cost involved, definitely actually you compare the local and also the foreign workers, actually sure there be a gap there. See? Of course, if it and currently the pandemic actually strike us actually. We are facing a lot of problem that in terms of this COVID, that we need to provide a lot of this decent accommodation to the workers, that in order to avoid actually these high cases of COVID infection, you see. So this actually is a time for us to change. We certainly actually will do something better. Of course, every industry is facing a different problem. actually we do have a group member. There will be actually something actually they are struggling actually to meet the requirement, but do have the member actually they are very easy to meet all sort of requirement. Of course, this is something actually when come to layer playing field, actually we need to have something to be on par later. See? So this yet we still need to think about how to improve it, and time will come, you see, with the challenges actually we faced. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Ong. You know, I think while you were answering this question, another question already came in related very much to this topic that we are discussing, and it talks about costs associated with workers' health being one of the biggest challenge for private sector to bear in 2021. I think when they talk about health and safety, I think the question means the COVID lah. You know, so how does this pan out against your productivity and the cost that the new industry is facing? You know, maybe a view from the private sector first. You know,
I think since as we know that since last year March, when we faced on the first MCO lockdown, because of most of the project, as I mentioned by Dato' Azri, it's about 7,000 to 8,000 project been stopped totally. You see, so when you stop the production, definitely you hurt the cash flow of all the companies actually involved in the construction. So, in that's a case that actually you have cash flow problem, definitely we have stuck with all other problem. It's a chain reaction. At the end, that actually you affect the quality or something, right? Especially you can see that now because of the health issue, safety issue, that we have to provide a lot of this preliminary cost to improve the situation of the construction site. So we also have to provide the centralized labor quarter, which is not cheap at all. So, and this issue is not new at this moment. Actually, for the past few years, we've been exploring, see, and trying to find out and what is the good solution on it, see. So we also working closely with CIDB. So consistently that how to improve our industry in terms of the labor issue and also the worker issue. That of course there's another issue about safety. You see? So this is a key point actually. We would say that we always take into concern, but of course cost sometimes actually, as we know that for the past few years, the new project been declining, so there's increase of competitiveness. Of course, the cost actually and also the price of the project is keep declining. Then the allocation of this preliminary sometimes is a constraint. You see that most of the contractor had to balance off the thing. So that will be the issue that facing by the industry. We do hope. Everyone do hope that actually we want to be a perfect situation and to perform everything as per requirement, as good as what actually we expected. So this, we say that the normal situation make us challenged, even though now pandemic. Now actually we are facing the pandemic. We are even tougher.
Well, the pandemic has certainly made it more challenging for everybody.
More challenging.
It's a very challenging industry already. Perhaps maybe Dato' Azri, you can have something to say, because I think what the question means is that inevitable that cost has increased, and inevitable productivity also will decrease. So maybe the views from the CIDB on this.
Okay, thank you. I covered the big picture for safety and health.
Yeah.
Safety and health issues is something that we have been addressing for the last few years. And what happened is that a lot of companies, a lot of construction projects have faced problem as far as safety is concerned. As you know, comparing to other industry, besides the road accident, construction industry is number one. in terms of number of fatalities per 100,000 workers. We rank the highest, which means to say that our practices in the construction industry has been very unsafe. So that one of the steps that we have taken together with the Department of Safety and Health, DOSH, is the fact that we follow the model of Singapore as well as UK. In UK, it is called CDM, Construction Design Management, and in Malaysia now we have already actually the act has been gazetted. Act what is called OSHIP. What OSHIP does is that putting responsibility of safety to the clients, consultant, as well as contractors. Because what happened in Malaysia now, before this, whenever there's accident, everybody will narrow down to either the site safety supervisor or the safety and health officer. So he's fully answerable, and everybody will push him and corner him and his normal reply is the fact that I've already advised this to my management, but they don't follow because of cost and all that. So because of that, we have adopted this approach to put responsibility to the three parties that is involved in the construction project to make sure that safety and health is costed in the construction industry. When it comes to COVID-19, the pandemic itself, actually what I say one of the factors that actually reduced or the number of projects that have that cannot be implemented to full capacity, one of the reasons is the compliance to the SOP. This is actually the challenge of the pandemic COVID-19 because of the compliance issue. They have to follow the SOP and all that. The cost has gone up. You know, you have to provide the sanitizers, to provide the masks, and to have the average temperature check before you come in. All that, you lose time, and definitely productivity will drop. So that in terms of that is a challenge to the contractors, and ironically, all these cases, the basically the cost actually is being borne by the main contractor. The client is not going to pay for it. I think in general, I'm sure Mr. Ong agree, and also it's actually all about the contractors, and they increase the cost of their business. That's why they don't employ as many workers as before. And because of that, productivity drops. That I agree. So in the long run, what we have to do is to make sure that in the BQ, all this is costed in. The cost of safety and health, the cost of compliance to SOP, all that have to be costed in. Otherwise, the contractor will suffer. Now the contractors are just actually protecting their name. They're trying to complete the project. They know that they're going to lose money in the end under this pandemic-19, but it's good for them. Some of them will just pursue and finish the project to make sure that their name is not tarnished and, you know, accept that somehow the losses that I'm sure Mr. Ong agree with me. that the reality that the contractor is facing now, which I'm sorry for, but we try to say as far as possible. But you know, these are the challenges as far as I'm concerned in COVID, as far as pandemic COVID-19.
Thank you, Dato'. Thank you. I think it's a very big task for the contractors in the industry. Yeah, indeed, a very big task.
It's very painful now, you see, for all the contractors.
So, because while we are talking about productivity, I suppose while this pandemic is still lingering on, and the so-called the new productivity index will be different, isn't it, Dato'? Because let's say if you take 10 months to finish a job under normal circumstances, if it's under a pandemic situation, it can't finish in 10 months for sure.
Correct.
So if all parties are responsive to this, then perhaps maybe it'll take the pain out of the equation.
That's why the temporary bills is important. But unfortunately, from what the industry is saying is that the bills itself is not comprehensive enough. And there's some ambiguity in the clauses and all that. So because of that, still the contractors suffer. So I think there are room for improvement as far as the temporary bills is concerned.
One of the comments I heard regarding the temporary bill is it doesn't apply there. It's not relevant to the entire supply chain, you know, from maybe design to construction to delivery to the banks and all that. So instead of providing a solution, I think it might have just created a little bit more confusion.
Correct. Mr. Ong will make
I agree on that. See, COVID bill actually is not comprehensive to cover the whole industry. So what we're expecting that actually we do have another session actually to refine it, you see, to provide the protection to the industry player. I mean, this is to be fair, see. So as we see that actually our member is still making lots noise about all these COVID bills actually to protect them, which is actually is not so relevant at this moment, right? So I mean, we do hope that on the Dato side actually that something need to be facilitated.
Maybe from the engineering fraternity side, maybe Engineer Ong, you have some comments on this. How does the COVID bill and the impending cost increase during this affect? I mean, we've heard that it affects them mentally. You know, how does it affect them in their practice? You know, the engineering fraternity.
Yeah, as far as the engineers are concerned, when we're talking about engineers, obviously the engineers either they are the employee, they are the contractors, they are developer, they are the supplier, or they are also the consultant, obviously. In fact, most of them are grossly affected. Our third survey, just now I mentioned was a fourth survey that was the latest in December. But the earlier one in July that we conducted a third survey, and it is also showing a very bleak scenario. Most of the employee, they are either having their paycheck cut, but the engineering people in construction and also in the manufacturing sector, they are barely affected in terms of cash flow, revenue loss, and the situation is very gloomy. So that's why IEM, through the various other professional bodies, we engaged the MITI, Ministry of Finance, EAC, and also Minister of Work to voice our concern about the loss of revenue, the loss of job, the cash flow tight situation. And I'm thankful to a certain extent, some of the requests were being granted. But back to the COVID-19 temporary bill, yes, we agree that it's not comprehensive enough. It's a very open-ended to a certain extent. We will hope that the government can give certain certainty or direction, a decision, a provision that can be very certain in order for the thing to move on. But as far as IEM is concerned, our members suffered, but let's not look back the situation. As far as IEM is concerned, we are looking into how to help the members who are suffering, not only just mentally, some of them, but also financially. But obviously, as an institution, we are not able to provide them support. But only we can ask the government to give more financial aids to those people and to the employer. For example, the wage subsidy program. Yeah, the government giving the wage subsidy program for the threshold of employee earning 4,000 and below. And this, in fact, when we conduct the survey, most of our employee and also employer do not enjoy this kind of program. Fundamentally, you were expected the engineers, the architects, the accountants, the lawyers who have been working for 5 years to 10 years, their salary being professional under this kind of a challenging working environment, their salary would have gone above 4,000 ringgit. So in fact, the WSP, the wage subsidy program, did not support our member, most of them. So in fact, our member asking this to be fed back to the government, and we did that. We actually informed the government that you need to increase the threshold from 4,000 to at least 6,000. If not, the SMI will not be supported in that scenario as far as engineering fraternity is concerned. So with this, we hope that the bill will be revisited, and like Mr. Ong mentioned, also Dr. Asri, more can be done to make the bill more beneficial to the industry as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you, Engineer Ong. Okay, perhaps we will tackle one or two more questions before we wrap up. There's one generic questions from Ashton Tai, and the question is, are there any government incentive assistance that is able to support private sector for 2021? I believe, and beyond, it says there. I believe there is, but maybe Dato, you can throw some light onto this. What is in the bag now, and I believe this gentleman needs some kind of enforcements of what is going to happen in 2021, in terms of the government assistance to support private sector. I think he probably comes from the SMI, I believe, and maybe he wants some clarity on this. Dato, perhaps?
In terms of projects, I think you're aware that the government have announced for the small and actually G1 and G2 contractors a project about 1.5 billion worth of project to support the small companies. So basically what the government, like I said earlier, is doing is actually they are implementing a lot of projects under the budget 2021, and also the fact that they actually expediting a lot of the implementation of the projects. They're monitoring it very closely and to make sure that the allocation that has been given will be spent, make sure that the economy moves. But other than that, what we have done is also trying to assist in terms of the issues earlier. We have approached Bank Negara, for example, trying to find solutions as to how we can ease financing of financing for construction companies. But over and above that, we have been working closely with MBM and other stakeholders as well, and we always welcome input and feedbacks from the industry, because with your input and feedbacks, we are able to bring it up to the government to make sure that just now Engineer Ong has already highlighted the fact that professionals are left out. I think that was also raised in a number of platforms that I was there, by the professional, by ASEM and all that, and something that the government has taken note. But to me, it's good that what kind of assistance and input that the system that the industry needs, just write to us, and we will basically work with MBM to make sure that we can raise this issue to whatever platform there is, to make sure that, because like I said, we are lucky to have a government that listens and government that is committed. So let's make full use of that.
Thank you, Dato. Thank you. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I think you all have heard what are the response from the industry, and then in terms of these very challenging times. And of course, as of today, you all are aware that we have a new MCO which has been announced, and we also have an emergency order that has also been announced, which will present even more challenges to the industry, So I hope that the only soothing response is that at least we had the experience of 2020 to deal with 2021, and other than that, I think there are major challenges both from the construction as well as from the engineering sector. Perhaps maybe the last, we have to wrap up very soon. Maybe I would like to invite Engineer Ong to say some final statements before we end today's session. Engineer Ong?
Thank you very much, Engineer. Now, first of all, I want to say tremendous thank you to Dato' Asri, the CEO of CIDB, and also Mr. Ong Katiam, the Council Member of Master Builder, for the excellent sharing of the knowledge on the challenges and opportunity and outlook of the industry for the coming years and beyond. We have an excellent session and sharing. Obviously, not all the issue raised will have solid, concrete solution, but at least we aspire, we put our best shoes in front. Hopefully, we can help the industry, and the promising situation for IEM is concerned, and also for all the engineer, is that the budget to a certain extent will definitely help the industry to grow and to lessen the financial hardship faced by the engineering fraternity in the country. Now, as I mentioned, that one of the key thing of the IEM mission is to talk about nation building and to support the social development of the country. And for that matter, IEM is talking about launching the first engineering convention in the year 2021 in KLCC from 9th to 11th of September this year. Now, one of the things that we want to do is to congregate all the technology players of the country, the industry leaders, and also to showcase the expertise and the knowledge of engineering in the country, not only in terms of construction industry, but also in manufacturing and other sector of the industry. And more importantly, being the nation builders among all of us here who are the engineers, I think it's very important that we bring the awareness of the importance of engineering to the public, to the stakeholders, and also to the parents, and also to the students. It's very important the student to know the sacrifice the engineers has made, but the achievement, they help to build the nation, and also in other parts of the world, is something that it needs to be further promoted. Now, for the matter, I hope that the parents and also those audience who are not yet a member of IEM, please take the opportunity, go to the website and sign up as a member of IEM, and will be able to look into the welfare and the benefits together. And also, obviously, we want to look into requesting the participants and audience to participate in this Engineer 2021. Now, this is a very important event after the 62 years of IEM being established. The timing is right for us to have an annual engineering convention that is surely meant for the engineers and also the technologists in the country. I hope all can be able to find time, jot down this date into your diary, and able to support the nation building industry of the engineering for that matter. And I'd like to request the video of the Engineer 2021 to be played. Thank you. IEM Convention in Engineer will be the must-go-to event for the engineering community and industry. We at IEM endeavors to be the prime mover of the industry, and we look forward for you to be part of this one and only one engineering outsourcing marketplace. You can be with us to drive this purpose together at Engineer 2021.
Thank you, Engineer Ong. Thank you for the video presentation. Interestingly enough, actually, Engineer 2021 was actually coined in 2020. But due to the pandemic, it had become 2021. Maybe it's a blessing in disguise. Maybe it's a blessing in disguise, and I think all of us look forward to Engineer 2021, which will be the first time we showcase such a large engineering event for the industry, and hopefully this will become something very, very exportable for Malaysia as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, with that, I wish to thank everybody. First of all, I wish to thank Datuk Engineer Ahmad Asri from CIDB for being here to cast some light from the government side, and I'm sure with CIDB's able leadership, it will be able to chart us through these tough times. And of course, I want to thank Engineer Ong from the Master Builders. Most of us in the industry would know that Master Builders is an old hand at the construction industry, for sure.
Right.
And I've been in the forefront of many members of the association is actually the builders of the nation. They are really the builders of the nation ever since Malaysia was formed, I believe. And I think your role as the main stakeholder in the industry will continue to grow. And lastly, of course, my president, Engineer Ong Chin Lung, from the Institution of Engineers, for hosting this and for being here to give his views on the engineering fraternity. I think engineers, being human beings, are also badly affected by this COVID-19. And there are actually stories about how engineering firms have to downsize themselves, during this period, just over a very short period. And then it goes to show that how the COVID can actually very significantly impact the economy of any industry. And with that, I'd like to thank everybody once again, and I would like to thank CIS and IEM and everybody, and I'd like to thank the audience for being here with some of your questions. Now, if you want to ask any more questions, I think you can always write it, and we will try to respond to that as much as we can through a written medium. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Stay safe. I know that actually today is we are very lucky to sneak through the having to conduct this webinar, because tomorrow we will have a new MCO. So with that, I want to thank everybody and stay safe. And with that, I'd like to pass the floor back to Jason. Jason?
Thank you, Engineer, and thank you again for all fellow panelists for sharing your views with us here today. And I'm sure our audience have benefited a lot from today's sessions. So echoing today's Power Talk sessions, calling all stakeholders in the engineering industry, let's hold our hands tight together. Let's rebuild our nation. Let's rebuild our economy together. So if you would like to discover how you'll be able to gear up your business for 2021, you can schedule an appointment with us. Our team will post a link in the comment box below. You can just click on the link to schedule an appointment, and as well as do follow us on Facebook so that you can stay updated with the latest development when we have more webinar upcoming Power Talk series. So once again, thank you, our moderator, Engineer Yam. Thank you, Dato' Azri. Thank you, Mr. Ong, as well as Engineer Ong, as well as our audience for staying till the end of these Power Talk sessions. I wish you guys all the best and in good health. And let's do our part here and comply with the SOP so that all of us here can flatten the curve together so that we can all rebuild the nation together. Stay safe and take care. And fellow gentlemen, shall we do a virtual goodbye to our audience? On the count of 3.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Take care.
Take a snapshot, Jason. Somebody take a snapshot.